Hi friends, welcome to our channel Knowledge Factory UPSC. Today in this lecture we are going to discuss the Farmers Act which is passed recently by our Indian Parliament, and today we are going to discuss what is this Farmers Act, why this Farmers Act is passed, and what are the three new Farmers Act, and how will it benefit the Indian farmers, why the opposition parties and even farmers were opposing this act. Okay, so keep a deep focus on this act because it's very relevant topic and you can expect questions for UPSC as well as PSC exams. Okay, so let's look into what is Farmers Act. And first and the most important Farmers Act is Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce, that is Promotion and Facilitation Act of 2020. I had said earlier there are three new Farmers Act, and the first and foremost among them is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commercial Act of 2020. And let's see what is it. This act creates an ecosystem where the farmers are free to sell their produce to anybody anywhere. So here the farmers are given the right to sell their produce to anybody, that means to any person at any place. Okay, so what are these benefits of the first act, that is the Farmers Produce Trade and Commercial Act of 2020? Let's see the benefits. And the first among them is it promote barrier-free interstate and intrastate trade of farmers' produce, which means that farmers can sell their produce interstate as well as intrastate, that means within the state as well as with other states. Okay, and the second important point is it supports seamless electronic trade, which means that they can also sell their produce through electronic meanways. Okay, and the third important feature is that it opens more choices for farmers, and the fourth one is it reduces the cost of marketing and improve the incomes of farmers. So it seems to be very good and beneficial for the farmers because it reduces the cost of marketing. In this way they can earn more revenue, or they does not have to spend more of their earnings for marketing, and also it improves income of farmers. And the fourth and last important feature of this act is the consumer will get better and cheaper products. So in this way the consumer is also beneficial as well as farmers, because the farmers, in the farmer side there is reducing the cost of marketing and improve in income of farmers. In the consumer side we can find that consumer get better and cheaper products. So it seems to be more beneficial in the case of first act, that is Farmers Produce Trade and Commercial Act of 2020. So let's look into the second act, that is Farmers Empowerment and the Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and the Farm Service Act of 2020. This is the second act, and the name is the Farmers Agreement of Price Assurance and the Farm Service Act of 2020. So this act allows the farmers to tie up with agricultural business firms, wholesalers, exporters and the larger retailers for the sale of the future farming produce at the pre-agreed price. So we can find there is a pre-agreed agreement. So there is a pre-agreed agreement between the wholesalers and the farmers. So this is very beneficial, because if there is loss in the side of agricultural farmers, or means that if there is loss in farm, they will get the assured price which is agreed by the wholesalers. So we can find that there is a direct agreement there is a direct pre-agreement between the wholesalers, exporters, larger retailers, and in the case of pre-agreed price. Okay, so it's very beneficial for them. The main benefits is that it transfers the risk of marketing unpredictability and wrong farmers to sponsors. That means it reduces risk, or it means that we can find there's a transfer of risk from farmers to wholesalers. As I said earlier that in the case there is crop destruction or something else, the wholesalers or the business firms or the exporters or the larger retailers have to pay the agreed price towards the farmers. Okay, and the second one is that it will allow the farmers to the great modern technology and better improvements. So the farmers are able to access with modern technology and better improvements. And the third one is it eliminates intermediaries. In this way, a huge amount of money is saved in the case of farmers, and it loses the amount. It reduces the case of useless spending of money to intermediaries. And the fourth one is the farmers will have assured the price before sowing. That is, we have discussed before. That there is a pre-agreed price between whom? Wholesalers, exporters, large retailers for future farming products. That is what it says, that the farmers will have assured price before sowing. And the fifth one is that the attractive private sector investment in the farmers and the link in the farmers to national global markets. In this way, the farmers were linked towards private sectors. That means the private companies were also introduced in the Indian farming, and they were also linked towards national and the global markets. So the poor farmers were linked towards national and global markets. In this way, they can gain more profit. We can also notice that there is an interference of private sectors towards farming. Okay. This is the third act, that is Farmers Agreement of Price Assurance and the Farm Service Act of 2020. Let's look into the third act. The third and most important act is the Essential Commodities Amendment Act of 2020. We have discussed two acts before. First one is Farmers Produce Trade and Commercial Promotion Facilitation Act of 2020. And the second one is Farmers Empowerment Protection Agreement of Price Assurance and the Farm Service Act of 2020. And the third and the last one is the Essential Commodities Amendment Act of 2020. What are the features and what are its benefits? Let's look into this. This act removes the commodities like cereal, pulses, oilseeds, onions, potatoes from the list of essential commodities. There is a small problem that we can find is, from the list of essential commodities, the commodities like cereals, pulses, oilseeds, onions and potatoes were removed. So the farmers who are cultivating the cereals, pulses, oilseeds, onions and potatoes were facing a disadvantage here, isn't it? Let's look what are the benefits behind this act. It brings an investment in the cold storage and modernization of the food supply chain. So here the large investment in the case of cold storage and modernization of the food in the supply chain by the private sectors is happening. And the second one is it helps both the farmers and the consumers by bringing in price stability. So here other essential commodities farmers were provided with the price stability. And the third feature is that it creates the competitive market environment, and the cut wastage farm produce will happen due to the lack of storage facilities. By the third benefit, we can find that on the previous times, due to the lack of storage facilities or the cold storage, there is a huge loss of products in the case of farm products were happened. So here it does not happen because due to the investment of the private sectors, it had happened by the bringing of investment in the cold storage and modernization of supply chain. So hereby it creates a competitive market and environment and cut the wastage of farm produce which happened due to the lack of storage facility. By this we can analyze that the introduction of the cold storage which help in efficient storage of farm products and which help agricultural farmers a lot. But a small disadvantage we can find here is, from the list of essential commodities, products like cereals, pulses, oilseeds, onions and potato were removed. Okay, these were the three most important amendment acts which happened in 2020. Let's see why the opposition behind this act is large spreading all over the India. Let's look into the facts. The state government will lose the revenue if the farmers sell produce outside the registered agricultural produce market commodity. That means in earlier times the state government will get a small revenue by selling the products in agricultural produce market commodity, but due to the arriving of this act, that means due to the arriving of this farmers act, the intermediary change which happened by the state government, or the revenue which is received by the state government is lost. Okay, so in the case of state government there is a revenue loss due to the Agricultural Amendment Act. And the third problem is the role of commission agents is eliminated if farmers trade outside mandis. Okay, so if the commission agents, that means if the farmers trade happen, that means the farmers trade outside the mandi, that means the farmers trade sell directly their products to the market, what will happen? The commission agents were eliminated. Okay, and the second problem is the loss of commission agents. And the third one is the farmers won't be able to negotiate, because we have discussed in the first act that is there will be no negotiation, because the farmers will be already prefix their amount of products, prefix the price of the products, so they were not able to negotiate. And the fourth one is the monopoly of the large retailers and the exports in the market. So there occurs a monopoly of large retailers and exports in the market. And the fifth and the last one is the sponsors may not deal with the small and marginal farmers. So the most problem faced is whom? The small marginal farmers, because they may have some lands or the little amount of land. They farm their products, or they started their agriculture products on their small area of land. So what happened? The sponsors may not deal with the small and marginal farmers, so the poor farmers will remain poor. Okay, and the people who have the large farmlands will get more benefit, and the people who have small areas and the small marginal farmers remains poor. It's a major drawback. And let's look why the farmers are protesting against this act. We have already discussed, but we have to come across the facts that why the farmers are protesting. Okay, so let's look into it. The farmers' bill have been the strongest in Punjab and Haryana, which produce these crops in massive quantities. More than 85% of the wheat and paddy grows in Punjab, and 75% of two crops in Haryana is bought by the government at MSP, that is minimum support price rate, according to the date from the Agricultural Ministry. Okay, so this farmers' bill was strong in the areas of Punjab and Haryana. And we can find that the 85% of the wheat and paddy grows in Punjab, and the 75% of both these wheat and paddy grows in Haryana. So the main problem is that the government fixes a MSP rate towards these farmers, and the farmers feel that MSP rate is very low. So there is a dispute between the government and the farmers. And the second point is, to illustrate this point, the Punjab, Haryana and the Andhra Pradesh accord for the 50% of rice produced under the MSP mechanism, and the paddy farmers in other states, even such as West Bengal, where they are in high production and consumption, do not really benefit from MSP. So they do not really benefit from MSP rate. For the wheat, it's Punjab, Haryana and the Madhya Pradesh which account for the lion's share of the produce under MSP system. That's what we have discussed here. The sponsors may not deal with the small and agricultural farmers. Likewise, in the case of states, the small agricultural areas in the small agricultural states which does not receive the more MSP mechanism, that means they receive small amount of MSP, that is minimum support price, and the lion's share, that means the most important share of this benefit will be given towards the areas which are of the high farming, such as Punjab, Haryana and Madhya Pradesh. Okay, so these are the main important features of this Farmers Act. We have already discussed and what are the three Farmers Act and how will it benefit Indian farmers, why the opposition parties are opposing this act. So what are the three important acts? One is Farmers Produce Trade and the Commercial Promotion Act of 2020, and second one is the Farmers Empowerment and the Protection of the Agriculture of the Agreement of the Price Assurance and the Farm Service Act of 2020, and the third one is the Essential Commodities Amendment Act of 2020. And we also discussed why the opposition, why there happened an opposition in between the farmers and the government, and we also discussed that why the farmers are protesting against this act. Okay, these are the main important features of the Farmers Act. And we are also leading a WhatsApp group which provides, if you want this PDF and daily newspapers and other current affairs and daily updates, etc., and you can join our WhatsApp group. If you want to join, just message to this number, and we are only charging 200 rupees for 1 year. It means that only 50 paise, that means only 50 paise per day. Okay, it's not a large amount. You will get all daily newspapers such as Hindu, Indian Express and other Hindi newspapers, as well as daily current affairs related questions and daily newspaper analysis, etc. If you want more PDF and notes, just WhatsApp to this number. So by this we are concluding our video. If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, share this to your friends. Thank you and have a nice day.